Hello, I want to welcome you all to our second webinar in this mobile focus series. Today we're going to be looking at some of Concord's more advanced features on a smartphone. But before we do that, I just want to spend a few moments to introduce myself and the Concord team for those of you that may not have met us yet. My name's Peter and I'm the Digital Product Manager for Concord. And joining me today I have two of our Concord gurus, Will and Kristen. We work for the Office of the Publisher's Agent, or OPA for short, which is managed by Jen McLaughlin, who is the Publisher's Agent. It's our responsibility to continue the publication of Mary Baker Eddy's published writings on behalf of the Board of Directors, who are the publishers of these writings, whether it's translation work or the publication of physical and digital books. Okay, well, with the introductions out the way, let's focus again what we're going to cover on in today's webinar. As I mentioned, we're going to be looking at some of Concord's more advanced features, including some of the advanced search options, the new scriptural cross-references that we recently released for mobile, using the insertion bar, and how to share a list. The format of this webinar will consist of two demonstrations lasting a total of around 40 minutes, followed by a Q&A session which will take us to the top of the hour. So at this point, I will mention that all of today's demonstrations will be taking place on an iPhone, as this is what most of our customers have and are familiar with. But if you are joining us on an Android, don't worry, because all of the content that we'll be demonstrating within the program will work just the same way on an Android phone as it will an iPhone. If you have access to a computer as well as a smartphone, we do recommend that you join today's webinar on your computer so that you're able to follow along on your smartphone. Throughout the demonstrations, if you think of any questions, go ahead and write them to us using Zoom's built-in questions and answers feature. This is labeled Q&A. On a laptop or desktop computer, this menu can usually be accessed at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you're on a phone or a tablet device, you may just need to tap on the screen first to bring up that options menu, and then you can go ahead and tap on the Q&A button. At the end of these demonstrations, we look forward to answering as many of your questions as we can. If we don't get to answer your question, please do email it to us afterwards at our email address, which is concord@csps.com, and we'll get back to you in the next few days with an answer. Again, our email address is concord@csps.com. The final thing that I wanted to mention before we get going here today is that today's webinar will be recorded, and we'll make it available for you all to re-watch at your convenience, and we'll give some more instructions at the end how you can access this. One of the benefits in being able to watch the replay is that you can really go at your own pace, and you'll be able to pause and rewind the video at your leisure. All right, well, why don't we get things kicked off here? I'm going to introduce Will, and he's going to talk us through how to use some of the different search options within Concord, and then how to familiarize ourselves with the new scriptural cross-references that we recently brought to mobile. Over to you, Will.
Thanks, Pete, and hello, everyone. My name is Will, and I'll be leading the first demonstration today. In a few seconds here, my face will disappear, and you'll see two views. On the left-hand side is a direct live feed of my phone, so you can see a crisp and clear image of what my phone is displaying. And on the right-hand side is a bird's eye view of my phone and my fingers, so you can better see what I'm tapping on. Both of these views are showing the exact same content, and both Kristen and I will be using this two-view format in our demonstrations today. I'll also have the production team put up a slide with some common terminology for today's demonstrations. For those of you who attended last week's webinar, this will look familiar, but we thought it would be good to show again for our new attendees. And these are some four of our common icons and menus we'll be referring to. So in the top left-hand corner is the three-dot icon, and this can be found and used in Search, in the Read, and List tab. Below that is the nine-dot icon, and that is used to drag and drop citations in a list. On the top right-hand side of the screen is the three horizontal line menu, and Kristen will be using that in her demonstration in Lists and in the List Manager. And then finally below that is the expand and collapse icon, and that's used to expand and collapse search results and citations in a list. So with that housekeeping out of the way, let's go to my phone. And as Pete mentioned, both of our demonstrations today are being conducted on an iPhone. And right now I am in my Concord icon that I created in last week's webinar. So if you have that and you're following along, you can launch your Concord icon on your home screen. Or if you don't have this, you can go to your internet browser and go to concord.christianscience.com and log in from there. So now that we're in the mobile version of Concord, there's 5 tabs on the bottom of the screen, and these are used for navigation purposes. We have search, books, read, lists, and more. And just to orient you with some of the features we'll be using in today's demonstration, I'll go through and highlight some of those features. So first, the search tab. Here we'll be doing lots of searching in my demonstration. So you can search by tapping in the search box. But specifically, we'll be using the search options drop-down menu, which is right below the search bar. And you can see we have 4 search options. And the 2 we'll be focusing on today are range search and stemming search. Next, to the books tab. Here you can see all the different books we have in Concord and more easily and quickly navigate to a specific chapter or book. But towards the very bottom of the screen is the indexes drop-down menu. And we'll tap on that drop-down and open up indexes. And we'll be speaking about scriptural quotations today. Next, we'll go to the Read tab, where we have the text for the books, and you can scroll up and down, and we'll be using this frequently. And what I'll call out is this cute little book icon we have here, and we'll be talking about that too. Next, we'll go to the List tab, and you can see we're in the List Manager. And a part of today's demonstrations is we'll be creating a list and adding citations to that list, and then Kristen, in her demonstration, will teach you how to send and share that list with family, colleagues, and church members. And then finally, the More tab. This houses a lot of our miscellaneous options, and here we can demonstrate how to enable and disable some of the features we'll be talking about. So let's go to Lists, and we're first going to start by creating a new list. And my Create New List button is kind of in the middle of my screen. If you don't have many lists, then that button might be a little bit higher on your screen. And I'll zoom in just so you can see what it looks like a little bit better. It says Create New List. And I'll tap on that to start creating a new list. And towards the top is a bar where I can enter in a list name. So I'll tap in that. And the theme for this list and for this demonstration, I'd like to do one on love. So L-O-V-E. And once I've typed in the name for my list, I can create the list by tapping Save on the right-hand side. And just like that, we have our list on love. And now the fun part is we get to add citations to this list. So the most common way to add citations to a list is to search for them. So let's go to the Search tab now. And I'll go up to our search bar here. And I'd like to do a search on the phrase, God is love. I think that fits our theme pretty nicely here. So now that I've got that typed in, I can tap on the magnifying glass and that will launch a search. However, all the search results, because I have 3 words here, Concord will look for instances where the words God and is and love are all in a sentence or a verse, not necessarily in sequential order. So to ensure that we can find this exact phrase, God is love, we'll put quotation marks around it. So I'll put them at the beginning and at the end. And using quotation marks tells Concord you're looking for a specific phrase in a sequential order. So now that I have these quotation marks for my phrase, I can tap on the magnifying glass and launch the search. Great, and now I'll open up Science and Health results. And you can see each of these different results has God is love in the exact phrase, which is what we wanted. And let's pick one to add to our list, and I'll go with Science and Health page 6, because it even has the quotation marks. And to add a citation to a list, you'll always want to look for the 3-dot icon. And in search, that's always on the right-hand side of the citation. So I'll tap on this 3-dot icon to the right of my God is Love citation, and it will bring up a menu. And I can add it to some of my recent lists. And you can see towards the top is my list titled Love. I can also, if I don't see a list I'd like to add this to, I can tap on More Lists, or I can even create a new list. But again, since we just created our list on Love, let's add this to our list. And as I do, you'll notice a pop-up that says Added to List, and I can go back to my List tab to check to confirm that it's there. God is Love, right there. Let's add a few more citations to this list. So to clear my search, I can tap on this X icon on the right-hand side of the search bar. So I'll do that. And for my next search, I'd like to look up the word comfort. I think that pairs really well with the word love. All right, so now I have my word comfort, and I, of course, could just tap the magnifying glass and see what Concord spits out for the word Concord. But I'd like to refine my search a little bit using some of our more nuanced search options. So I'm going to open up the drop-down menu right below search, right below the search bar that says search options. I'll tap on that, and you can see our different search options. And the one I'm going to do to further refine my search is range search. And so to enable range search, you want to tap on the switch on the right-hand side, and it will toggle on. And what range search allows you to do is it allows you to look up a word in a specific range or with parameters. So for instance, I could look up a word and say I only want search results from science and health. Or I could look up a word and I could choose a specific page range that I wanted to pull from, or even chapter. So with my word comfort here, I would like to set a range. I'd like to find where the word comfort appears in the Gospels. So in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So what I'll do is I'll tap right in the Enter a Book Here area under range search, and I'll type in the abbreviation for Matthew, M-A-T-T. And then right below that is a little plus icon that I can tap on to add another book. So I'll add in Mark, I'll tap the plus again, Luke, and then finally I'll add in John. And this is just setting our range. And you can see towards the top, range search is enabled with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So when I tap this magnifying glass to launch the search, you'll see all the results will be from those 4 books. So I'll hit the magnifying glass, and we have 4 results here. And they're all from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So again, this is a great way to really focus in and dial up your search so that you can more easily find what you're searching for. And I like this citation from Matthew, and so I want to add this to my list too. So again, I'll just tap on the 3-dot icon on the right-hand side, and then I'll add it to my recent list, Love. So I'll tap on that. I'll go back to the List tab, and you can see right there is my citation from Matthew. Let's try out another search option. So I'll go back to the Search tab, and I'll open up the search options again. And to do another search option, what I want to do here is I'm going to turn off my range search because this search option refines my search, and I want to use a search option that really expands the results I get. So I'm going to tap the switch again to toggle off range search, and I'm going to enable stemming search, which is the first search option towards the top. And I'll tap on Enable here. There we go. And what stemming search does is it takes the word you have in search, so I have comfort, and it will search for that word and any alternate endings that appear with that word. So for the word comfort, I might find comforter, or comforted, or comfortable. And so again, this can be a great way to really find a more expansive search. So with stemming enabled, you can see it with the stemming box here. I can tap the magnifying glass again, and it will launch the search. And you can see it found 220 results, and I'll open up Science and Health again. And you can see to the right of where it says it found 220 results, there's a View All button. And I'll tap that so you can view all the different words that the stemming search found. So here you can see comfort, comforter, comfortable, comfortably, comforter, comforting. So this stemming search really allowed me to expand my sense of this word comfort. All right, so let's look at this first Science and Health citation. And the next feature I wanted to show you all is a really great way to quickly filter through search results so you can more quickly and efficiently find the citations you're looking for. And so what I'll do is I'll tap on this Science and Health page 33 citation, and it will open up in the Read tab. So it's right here. And if I wanted to, if I'm not using this feature I'm going to show you, to go to the next citation in my search results, I'd have to go back to the Search tab and then tap the very next citation. And I have to do that every single time as I go through my search results. But if I tap on the search and I look towards the very bottom of the screen, you'll see my search word comfort is in the center, and on either side, on the right-hand side is the next button with an arrow, and on the left-hand side is a previous button with an arrow. If I tap on those buttons, if I tap on the next button, it will take me to the very next citation in my search. So I don't have to go back to the Search tab. And this can allow me to, when I tap on it, more quickly and easily see these citations in context and decide whether or not they're right for my list. So I'll tap next again, and you can see that it will just go right to the next citation. Here it's got comforter. I'll tap next again, and again, comforted. And if I want to go back in my search results, I can use the previous arrow. So I'll tap that, and I'll do it one more time, just for show. And just like that, let's say I found the citation I want. I can add this directly to my list by going up to the three-dot icon in the citation builder at the top of my screen here. And if I tap on this three-dot icon, I can add this citation to my list here as well. So I'll add it to my recent list titled Love. And if I go to my list, you can see at the very bottom is this citation from Science and Health. So those are a few search options, and I encourage you to try these at home and also try out the other two search options. All right, the next feature I want to show you is really awesome, and this is a feature we added this year actually, and I'm really excited to show it to you. So I'm going to open up Science and Health page 6, this citation. It says God is love. And I mentioned these really good-looking little book icons earlier. And what these are scriptural quotation book icons. And so when you see these in Mrs. Eddy's writings, what they mean is that this is where Mrs. Eddy quoted a Bible citation. So as you're reading and you see these, I can go, oh, hey, I wonder what citation from the Bible Mrs. Eddy was quoting. What I can do is I can tap on this book icon. So I'll tap on it. And I can see that when she says God is love and quotes here, she's referring to 1 John chapter 4, verse 8. And if I'd like to navigate to that Bible citation, I can just tap on the text of that citation, and it will take me to that citation in 1 John. So this is a really helpful tool for study and creating readings. It can be really helpful for that. And let's just say, all right, we navigated to the Bible. Well, how do I get back to where I just was? And so what you do is you can tap on that book icon again. And when you see the book icon in the Bible, that means this citation was quoted in Mrs. Eddy's writing. So when you see it in the Bible, it's always quoted by Mrs. Eddy. And then when you see it in Mrs. Eddy's writings, it's always being linked to a Bible citation. So back to, how do I get back to my citation? I tap on the book icon. Whoops. And what you can see is the very first result here is Science and Health page 6, God is love, which is where I was. And so I could tap on the text of that, and it would take me right back to that citation. But in this case, you'll also notice that there's a number of citations in Mrs. Eddy's writings that she referenced this specific Bible citation. There's actually 11. And so if you want to go and check out some of those other citations, you can just choose one, tap on the text. So I'll tap on, let's see, how about miscellaneous writings, page 125. I can tap on the text. And it will take me right to that citation in Miscellaneous Writings, and I can see where she talks about God is love in another place. Well, if you're not keen on the book icons, that's okay. We have another way to access this really awesome feature. So we're going to navigate to the Books tab here. And towards the bottom again, I mentioned that indexes drop-down menu. I'll have you tap on that, and it will bring up the different indexes we have in Concord. And we're focused on scriptural quotations. I don't have time to talk about marginal headings, but I recommend you check those out too. But let's look up scriptural quotations. So I'll tap the drop-down menu there. And let's look up that same exact Bible citation from 1 John. 1 John chapter 4, verse 8. So since I know I'm looking for a Bible citation, I'll tap on the drop-down menu for the Bible. And 1 John is in the New Testament, so I'll go to that. And then towards the bottom, we have 1 John, and I'll tap the drop-down menu there. And if I scroll down again, you can see all the different times that Mrs. Eddy referenced a citation in 1 John. And towards the bottom third is 1 John chapter 4, verse 8. I'll tap that drop-down menu. And here you can see all 11 of those exact same citations we were just seeing in the book icon. And you can navigate to them in the same exact way you would with the book icon. And so let's say this time I want to go to Message to the Mother Church for 1902, page 5. I can just simply tap on that citation, and it will take me right there in Concord. And if I'd like to add that citation to my list, again, I can just go up to the citation builder up here, tap on the 3-dot icon, and add it to my list, love. And there it is. So that's all the time I have in my demonstration. I hope you enjoyed learning about some of these new features, and I hope you try them at home. And I'll pass the demonstration hat back to Pete, and he'll introduce our next presenter.
Thank you so much, Will. That was great. I really love that we now have the scriptural cross-references available on mobile, and have personally found this a real big game changer when I'm studying on my phone. Well, if you guys have any questions, do go ahead and use the questions and answers feature built into Zoom, and we'll get to as many of those as we can at the end. Well, as Will mentioned, we're going to now hand the reins over to Kristen, who's going to do our second and final demonstration. She's going to cover how to use the insertion bar and how to share a list. So without further ado, I'll hand it across to you, Kristen.
Thanks so much, Pete. Hi, everyone. As Pete said, my name is Kristen, and I am so glad to be here today with you to talk about some of these Concord features. We're so glad that you'll be able to explore them and learn a little bit more. I'm going to pick up where Will left off, and I'm going to continue using this list to show you, first, how to use the insertion bar, which will enable you to adjust the default location of where citations actually get added to a list. And then we'll move along to how to actually share that list with a friend, as Will mentioned. And then the last piece will also be what that friend will see when they want to import the list into their own Concord account. So let's go to my phone here now, and this is that same love list, but I've added a few more citations here to be able to do a few of these pieces that I'm going to demonstrate for you. So up at the top, you can see that we have a couple of Bible citations from Exodus and Proverbs, and then I have a few more that have been added down here at the very bottom. And I want to start off, before we get to the insertion bar, with taking you through something that hopefully you're familiar with, which is how to drag and drop these features within the list. And that's utilizing over here on the left this 9-dot icon that is to the left of each and every citation. Now, these Bible passages, to move them up and group them with the other ones, I could drag each one of them individually up to the top of my list. But what I wanted to show you how to do is to actually drag them together at the same time if you want to move them. So I'm going to zoom in here on the right-hand side of my citations, and you can see that there's this little square, and it's actually a checkbox. So if I tap in that square, and then I zoom back out, you can see that now my Luke citation has turned green and has a check in that little square. And if I tap on the one that is right near X, that one will also turn green. And that means that I now have both of those citations selected. And so if I drag them now, it will drag both of them together, and I don't have to move them individually. So let me go ahead and do that now, and I'll show you how this works. So we're going to tap and hold on the 9 dot icon, which is that little square on the far left, and then I will move my finger up to just below Proverbs, and then I'm going to lift my finger off the screen, and you can see now that it actually moved both of those citations at once. So that's not too difficult, and I could continue to add citations just like Will showed you, and they would put them at the bottom, and then I could move them up. At the same time, we developed this feature in Concord called the insertion bar that makes it so that I can actually have citations, instead of being added to the bottom of my list, have them inserted right between the citation Acts and the science and health citation. Now, we don't see the insertion bar right now because it's disabled. So let me first show you how to turn this on so that it's active in your list if you want to use it and it's not already active in your list account. So I'm going to go to the More button that's down here at the bottom, and I'm going to tap on it. And the third option here is it says List Preferences, and I will tap on List Preferences. That opens and gives me a few additional options under my list to actually activate. And the second one here, saying Enable Insertion Bar, is the one that I'm going to tap to turn on the insertion bar. And now it says Disable. And so that's all you have to do to turn it on. And then we're going to go back to our Lists tab. Oh, let me zoom back out. I accidentally zoomed in. Down here at the very bottom, you'll now see a green bar. So let's talk about this for a minute. I'm going to zoom in on it so that you can see on the left-hand side, it says Insert Citation or Text. You'll see it also has that 9 dot icon, which means it can be dragged and dropped, just like we did with those citations, to anywhere in your list. And then if I scroll over to the right, you will see that it has a little word that says Above, with a little arrow pointing up. And if I tap once, it will switch to saying Below with a little arrow pointing down. So let me zoom back out, and I'm going to tap once more so that it changes back to being above. And this bar will then insert a citation above or below it, depending on where it's located in my list. So as I said, you can use that 9 dot icon to drag it to a specific location. But if you have a longer list and you're not sure where the the insertion bar is, there's another way that you can move it that I want to demo here now. I know I want it to show up between Acts and Science and Health. Sorry, I tapped on it. And so I'm going to tap on this 3 dot icon over here on the right-hand side of my citation. And my fifth option down here is Move Insertion Bar. So I'm going to open that. And now you can see that it says move the insertion bar above that citation or below that citation. And I'm going to put it right below my Acts citation. So I don't have to go find it. If I just use that 3 dot menu next to the citation, it will move it right to where I want it to be. So now let's go back to our search box, and we will actually add a citation just like Will did, and you can see how it gets added right above this this insertion bar. We're going to tap on Search. I'm going to clear the search that we have up there in the top, and I'm going to do a search for the words peace and love. And this will put in a search that will search for those two words in any sentence or verse. And I'm going to also tap on search options like Will showed you. I'll turn on that range search by tapping on it. And then I am going to tap into the box, and this time I'm going to search on the New Testament, which I can abbreviate as NT. Same way with Old Testament for OT. And then I will tap my Go button, and it will search for those two words, not in that order because there's no quotation marks, but it will search for those two words in any verse or sentence. And I will open the Bible, and I'm going to add this passage from 2 Corinthians to the list. So I'm going to tap on the 3-dot icon and add it to the list, love. So let's now go back over to the Lists tab, and you can see here that that citation that I just added wasn't put at the very bottom of my list. It was inserted in the middle of my list. So why is this feature so helpful? Well, specifically when you are working on mobile, you cannot see any panel except the one that you're currently working in. So I'm working in lists. I can't drag and drop a citation from the search over to lists, which is something that you can do in the desktop version of Concord. And so the way that you can very easily have a place where that citation goes is by using this insertion bar. And it just makes it so much easier to add citations on mobile to a very specific location. So we hope that you'll try out this feature, and feel free to send us any thoughts or comments or suggestions that you have on ways we could even make it better. Once you have added all of the citations that you want to a list, the next thing that I want to talk about here today is how to then share that list with a friend. Or, for example, one thing that I thought about is if you're a Sunday school teacher and you're talking about some specific citations in your class, maybe then your high school students have their own smartphones and they might want to look at those passages during their school week. And so at the end of class, you could quickly send them the list of citations that you referenced during your class. So let's take a look at how you can do that. In the list, up here in the top part where your title is, there is this 3 horizontal line menu. We call it the List Options menu. And when you tap on that, it will open some various options that apply to your entire list. And the third one up from the bottom says Send List, and that's what we're going to tap on here. Now, the first thing that you're going to get if you've never sent a list before is a little message that talks about, are you sure you want to send this list along? And the reason that we include this is because we know that some of you may have very private information in Concord, and we wouldn't want you to share something that you didn't mean to send along. And so this is just a way to double check yourself to make sure you're sending the correct list. The very first sentence here says, you are about to send your private Concord list, and then it gives the name of that list that you are about to share with one or more recipients. In this case, our list is titled Love. Now, as you become more familiar with this feature, if you find that you don't want to see this particular message show up each time, I've just zoomed into the bottom right-hand corner, and you can see that it says, don't show me again. And it doesn't have to show this message each time you use this feature. And the way that you can make it go away is by simply tapping in that square there, and it will put a little check mark in there. Then you would hit the Continue button, and this message would not show up each time you send a list. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and tap Continue. And that takes us to our next step. Here we have 2 options on how we can send a list. I'm going to skip the copy link and come back to that one at the very end. So just remember that we're going to circle back to that one. And I'm going to demonstrate the email process right now, which will email it directly from Concord. So I'm going to tap on Email, and that will open a new screen for us to do some sending from. Now, if you've ever sent an article or shared an article from JSH Online with a friend, this is a similar kind of process for that functionality within JSH. The first step is to enter the email address of the person that you are going to send the list to, and you're going to tap in this box right below the word To, and that will open your keyboard. And now I can enter the email address. I'm going to use the Concord at CSPS .com email, and then I will hit return on my keyboard, and it will move that email right into that to field. And the reason that it does that and keeps me right in that box is in case I want to send to another person. I can enter multiple email addresses in using this field, up to 10 of them, and then it will send to all of those people at once. So now I'm going to hide my keyboard for a moment so that we can look through the rest of this part of the program. The second piece down here shows the from, and right now we're in the Concord Teams email for this demo. If you were sending a list, right here would say your name and your email address. The subject would also say your name shared a Concord list, and then it would give the title of the list. And we'll see that in a minute when I show you the email that comes through. As we continue down, then you can also enter in a personalized message for the person or people that you are sending the list to. To do that, you just need to tap in that message box and then say whatever you wanted to share with them. So I'm going to just type inspired ideas. As we continue to look in this area, we are going to see a preview of our list. And if you have ever printed a list, this preview pane might look somewhat similar to that. And it also has some settings that apply just like printing a list does. So I'm going to walk us through the settings, but I first just want to explain that the reason that you see this is because the email that gets sent will send two things to the recipient. It will attach a copy of the PDF of your list that they can open as an attachment from that email, and it will also send them a link that will enable them to actually import all of the citations directly into their Concord account so that they could continue to study them. So let's take a look at these settings that will apply specifically to the PDF. And I'm going to do that by tapping right here on this Settings button. I'm going to start with our font size here because that one's pretty straightforward. We have a small, medium, and large font size. So you can change and choose which size you would like to use for that PDF. I'll leave it at large for our demo here today. We also have some additional options, and these options have check marks next to them, and those check marks mean that they're either going to show or hide these pieces of information, such as the date, the marginal headings, line and verse numbers, etc. So if you tap on one, you can see that then the check mark goes away, and that would mean that it's not going to show the date, it's going to hide it. So I will leave all those checked for now, and you can explore those further and send us any questions that you have about them. And then finally, we have three options for formatting. And we have these shown in a slide that I hope will better illustrate kind of what these each look like. So we're going to pull up that slide, and the first one shows that this PDF would just include the citations. So that's the top option if you chose that one. The next slide shows what the PDF would look like if you chose free flowing, and that takes out line numbers and verse numbers and breaks, and it sort of puts all of the text into paragraph form. And the next slide shows what book format looks like, which includes the verse numbers in the Bible and the page numbers and line numbers in the Science and Health and Mrs. Eddy's other writings. It also includes marginal headings. So those are the three options that you have to choose from. And we'll go back to my phone now, and we can see that right now I'm on book format, and I can change this to free flowing, and that's how it will then display in my PDF. So I will close out of format, and then I can just tap somewhere on the gray part, and I will be taken back to the main screen area. And the last piece that all I have to do now is to tap send. And when I do that, it will send an email to my friend, and it will share that list with them. Let me try tapping it one more time. I might have missed the button there. It's thinking about it. Well, the list normally will then go back into the main Concord list. So let me just tap that back here and let me try it one more time to see if I can get it to send. Nope, it's not going to do it. Well, the other thing that I want to demo here with you today is what it looks like when it comes through. So we're going to assume that the list did send successfully, even though it's not actually working for me right now. And I'm going to switch over to a different screen. So I'm going to take us out of Concord here for a second. And I'm just going to do that by swiping up. And then I'm going to pull up Safari, where I have my email sitting here waiting for me. And I had a friend of mine, Bree, she sent me a list before we started our demo here today. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like when you receive a Concord list that has been shared with you. So I've opened this email that came through from Concord. And at the top, it's kind of small, so I'm going to read you. It says, Bree shared a Concord list, and then it has the title of it that says Inspirational Ideas. And then below that, in the body of the message, it says, a copy of the Concord list Inspirational Ideas has been sent to you. And then it gives the email that she sent it from. So it would be your email if you had sent the list. The next part is the message that she typed into that box that says, here's the text that she specifically wanted to share with me, of just a sweet little message saying, sharing some ideas that inspired me. And then as we continue working our way through this, you can see that we have two options of how we can view this list that's been shared. The first option is to open this PDF that has been attached to the email, and it's down here at the bottom with this little red icon showing it's a PDF. The second option that hopefully will work if we're connected to the internet again is we can actually import this into our Concord account. And all your friend has to do is to tap on the name of the list that's in blue here. And that should then open Concord, and it should enable them to import it into their Concord account. And we're going to try it here to see if it will work. So bear with us if it doesn't. I'm going to go ahead and tap here, and it will launch Concord. It's thinking about it. I'm just going to check and see if we try turning Wi-Fi back on, if that will make it work. Oops. So let me try that one more time. If I go back to my email and I say, let me tap on that again and see if it will load this time. Nope, it's not going to load. So what will happen is we're going to actually transition over to a slide that I have that I told you we would come back to. So what happens if we can go to those slides is that link that is included in that email is the same one that if you want to just say copy link, it will show up and you can paste it into a text or your own email or into WhatsApp or some other program. And when you get that link, just like we had in the little email that came through here, then when it arrives to the user, if we go to the next slide, what happens is you'll actually get this little box that will show up, and the user will get the option to import the link immediately into their list, or they can also choose to create a folder if you use folders, and you can designate a very specific folder that you can share, you can add in that shared list into. I'm so sorry that we weren't able to actually demo it live here today, but I'm really hoping that you will try these features on your own and that they will work for your devices. And now we are going to transition back over to Pete, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some questions that you've sent in here today.
Well, thank you for walking us through all of that, Kristen. That was awesome. All right, well, that concludes the presentation part of this webinar. And so why don't we jump into some of the questions and answers that we have been, some of the questions that have come in. So first one, I will put maybe, Kristen, if you could, and if Concord is behaving, could you talk about the underlined text in a book and how to find the list that the citation is in?
Sure, I'd be happy to talk through that. It's not kind of coming up yet, but Will's going to work on that while I sort of explain this. So in Will's demo, you may have noticed when he pulled up that God is love citation, there were two icons just to the left of that reference. One of them looks like a little pencil, and it may have even had a number next to it. And that icon is the icon that shows you where it is for actually, if you tap on it, it will pull up the lists that that citation is shown in. So Will has now it open again. Yay, thank you, Concord. And if you can please go to that God is Love citation that you had in your list. I believe it was Science and Health, page 7 maybe. Hang on for 1 second while we get this pulled back up. Maybe. What if you go back to the read panel? Will you be able to scroll and find one in where you are, or is it not visible in? So anyway, there's this little icon that is this pencil icon, and when you tap on that, it opens a box that will actually show you the number of lists that appears in. If you tap on the name of the list, it will then open that citation in your list, and it will then be able to, you can actually open and see that list and that citation. So I'm sorry we're not able to show it to you, but hopefully we can get it pulled back up and maybe we can circle back to it and actually demo it later.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And again, apologies, we've had a few people write in and I've just been able to verify this myself. Concord appears to be down just at the moment, but we're looking into it and hopefully it will be back up again shortly. All right, well, in the meantime, I know we don't have access to actually be able to show you, but Will, we've had somebody write in and says that they don't see the book icons on their mobile, and how can they get them to show up?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you about how to do that. So what you'll do is you'll go back to Concord, and on your phone we have those 5 tabs. And on the very right-hand side is the More tab, where you have all your options. And you'll want to look for the drop-down menu that says Reading Preferences. And if you tap on that drop-down, you'll be able to tap on another one that says Scriptural Quotations. And there you can tap on Show in Books, show in the read panel, and it will show that book icon right in the read panel. And if for whatever reason you don't want that little book in your read tab, which is also totally good, you would just go to that same place and you could actually hide it.
Great. Thank you very much, Will. Okay, Kristen, a question for you. Somebody writes in and says, can you send a list to somebody that doesn't have a Concord account?
That is a great question. So you absolutely can share a list with anyone, whether they have a Concord account or not. When you use that functionality within the program, the great part about it is it will email that PDF, so they could simply view those citations on that PDF and study them and take notes. The other option, if they tap on that link and they do want to read the citations in context and they don't have a Concord account, when they get to that login screen, which is where they will be taken when they click on the link, the second half on the mobile, it's top and bottom, the bottom half on a mobile device shows Concord Guest Access. And Concord Guest Access enables someone to import that list temporarily into the list panel. The thing about Guest Access is that it won't save that list and it will go away after an hour. So they should be able to look at it and study it for a period of time, but it won't save it forever. But they could always go back in and open it again into Guest Access if they wanted to read it in context.
Great. Thank you very much, Kristen. Will, I know this is probably one maybe you can answer, similarly to the one that you answered last time. I know we're probably not going to be able to demo this right at the minute, but somebody writes in and says, how can you turn on the insertion bar again?
Yeah, so again, we'll want to go to that More tab. And odds are, if you're trying to turn anything on or off, you want to go to that More tab. And right next to actually the Reading Preferences drop-down, there'll be another one that says list preferences. And then from there, you can enable the insertion bar. And like Kristen demoed, this can be a really fantastic tool to use when you're building readings or really just for list creation in general. So if you haven't already turned it on, we'd recommend that you enable it.
Great. Thanks, Will. All right. Kristen, I think one for you. Somebody writes in and asks, does stemming also search for different prefixes?
That's a great question. Thank you, Pete. At this point, no. The stemming feature specifically talks about the second half of the word, and so it's taking the root part of the word and adding endings to it. So you are not actually able to search for prefixes.
All right, thank you very much. Well, let's just see if we have any other questions. Bear with me just a moment.
Hard to come up with questions that you can't demo.
I know, I know.
You're doing great, Pete. Stay with us. Well, we got you here.
Okay. I think we've got one just coming in. Okay, this is actually very similar to one of the first things that was demonstrated. Kristen, maybe it's something we could have you talk a little bit more about again. Could you tell us the difference between stemming and the wildcard asterisk function?
Absolutely. So we have a really great help article that I think will be part of the information that we send along after our webinar here today. So Will did a great job of talking through that stemming functionality that adds those suffixes to the words. If you think about the word father, though, there isn't a suffix necessarily that you could add to father other than perhaps the letter S, like you could find fathers if you were looking for it in a plural manner. So you could turn on stemming and you might find a few more results that come with that word father. At the same time, there's another functionality that we call the wildcard, or it's utilized using the asterisk. And so you could enter the word father into that search box, and then you would put in the asterisk. And what that does is it looks for any words that, or any additional parts that would follow that word. So for example, father-mother is something that we're all probably familiar with. And if you wanted to find all the places that included that, you could add that wildcard asterisk after the word, and then it would find a myriad of letters that would come after that word, and not just suffixes to that specific word. So it expands your search even beyond what stemming would do if you want to get more full ideas about how Mrs. Eddy used those particular words. So that's kind of the difference, is it expands it even more so than stemming does by using that wildcard search.
Great, thank you, Kristen. All right, well, while we're still having a few technical difficulties, I wondered, I know we talk a lot about the Concord Help Center and it being a really great place to sort of watch help videos and read through helpful articles and other resources there. I was wondering whether we might just be able to sort of bring that up and demo how we can kind of get to that, and maybe how we can sort of navigate through some of the different options there. So I don't know, Will, is that something you might be able to try and bring up for us?
Yes, let me see if I can do that. All right. So the easiest and probably the best way to get to the Concord Help Center is to go into Concord and go to that More tab if you're on your phone, and there's a help section. I'm going to see if I can get to concord.com. It seems our site's down. But what you'll do is, if you're on a computer or on your phone, if you're on your phone, you can go to the More tab, and there is a help drop-down, and you can read helpful articles, you can watch training videos, see frequently asked questions, and I think we have, at this point, nearly 100 help articles and videos available. And so if you go to the, I'm going to try going to the website again. Let's see if I can do it.
Just go to concord.christianscience.com and then you can navigate there.
Perfect. All right, well, let's see if I can, come on. Excuse my speed typing here. Yes, there we go. Okay, if you go to my screen now. And to go to the Help Center, you can go to the 3 horizontal line menu. And if you go there, you can actually, you can see tons of different options, but you can log in at the top. And I believe if you go to the support area, you can see all of our frequently asked questions, as well as a gray box that says Help Center. And you can tap on the Read Selected Help Articles hyperlink, which I'll do. And then there's a box to access the Concord Help Center. So I'll just tap on that, and we'll head on over there. And from there, it's a little formatted a little funny on our phones. But from here, you can use our search bar to type in keywords, or we have a number of tabs. And if you actually tap on the Using Concord tab, we have lots of different categories that can be used to really focus in on whatever you're looking for help on. You can also email us at concord@csps.com, and we'd be happy to direct you in the correct way to those help articles and videos.
Great. Thank you so much. And I think that's probably all about we've got time for today. So I just wanted to thank you all so much for bearing with us while we had those few technical glitches. And thank you all so much for your questions. And a huge thank you to Will and Kristen for all of your help here today. If we didn't get to answer your question, as I said, please do email it to us at our email address, which is concord@csps.com. Again, that's concord@csps.com. And we'll get back to you with an answer over the next few days. Later on today, we'll be sending out a follow-up email. In this email, you'll find a link to today's webinar recording. And towards the bottom of the email, we'll include a link to some helpful Help Center resources, as Will was sort of demonstrating today, where you'll be able to view additional videos and read help articles on the topics that we've covered here today. When this email comes through, I'd really appreciate it if you could just take a few moments to complete our short survey, as this will be really helpful to us in future. Before we go, the last thing I wanted to do is to encourage you all to experiment and explore using Concord. I know I've mentioned this before, but Concord really is designed to be explored and experimented with. And if you do get stuck, you can always email us at concord@csps.com. All right, well, all that's left really for me to say is thank you all again so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time today, and hopefully you've been able to take something away to help you with your study. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.